तो हम लोग today we are going to learn about how protein and amino acid get metabolized inside our body. So basically, we all know that as we exercised a lot or during exercise, basically, first energy source is carbohydrate, which provide energy to the body. And when it depleted, when it depleted, the protein comes into the picture, it get metabolized and provide the necessary energy to the body. Okay, so how much energy should protein provide? How much energy it would give? Okay, estimated amino acid contributes around 5 to 15% of energy during prolonged exercise. Okay, and actually during the exercise the energy demand is so high that basically carbohydrate couldn't suffice that need of the body energy demand. Okay, and so amino acid basically which is the integral part of skeletal muscle provide this energy. Okay, so 40% basically skeletal muscles are 40% of body weight, and first source, the largest source of stored energy is glycogen. The fat first in the form of triacylglycerol in adipose tissue, then glycogen, and then amino acid. And basically skeletal muscles composed of three types of amino acid or protein pool. There are some free amino acid, and some proteins are present in contractile fibers, and some proteins present in non-contractile fiber. Free amino acid pool basically come from the plasma, and almost muscles, due to its mass, which contains around 75% of the total body free amino acid, it will contribute basically only 1% of metabolically active amino acid. What does it mean by metabolically active amino acid? Those amino acid which provide energy, okay, by metabolizing, by undergoing metabolism. Okay, so those amino acid are called metabolically active amino acid. The non-contractile protein basically consists of tyrosine and phenylalanine, which is actually used as an indicator of non-contractile protein, and the magnitude of appearance of these non-contractile protein is basically proportional to intensity and duration of what? Intensity and duration of exercise. Basically, studies on animal showed that about 25% of degradation of non-contractile protein happens during prolonged exercise. So how people can find out that this protein is contractile or non-contractile? For non-contractile protein, tyrosine and phenylalanine used as an indicator, and for contractile protein, methyl histidine used as a most common indicator. Basically, 3-methyl histidine excretion reduced during exercise, and then after prolonged exercise, its level get increases. So this indicates the metabolism of contractile proteins, and there is a biphasic response which depends upon type of exercise and intensity or duration. So we can see this using a graph later in this slide. Basically, what steps involved in the amino acid metabolism in muscles, and what type of amino acid involves. Basically, 6 amino acid play important role in metabolism, and they are alanine, aspartate, glutamate, BCAA. And what is BCAA? It is branch chain amino acid. You all know about valine, isoleucine, and leucine. They are categorized as branch chain amino acids. And since basically how these amino acids, all amino acids get metabolized, first step involves transamination. During transamination, there occurred donation or transfer of amino group from glutamate to keto acid. Okay, BCOA is a keto acid. So, like for example, BCOA या BCOA can transfer and its amino group to acetyl CoA or to succinyl CoA. So this is the overall pathway of transdeamination in for branch chain amino acid. From protein pool, it comes for metabolism, and here 2-oxoglutarate reacts with glutamate dehydrogenase and converted into glutamate. And here, here the free amino group, free amino acid released. We can also put here enzyme glutamate deaminase, which can release free amino group, and this free amino ammonia or ammonium ion can be reutilized or converted into urea through urea cycle. And this branch chain amino acid can undergo aldo-keto transamination, where they can transfer its amino to this alpha ketoglutarate, and it get converted into keto acid. Okay, this keto acid can subsequently degraded using a dehydrogenase into acetyl coenzyme A and succinyl coenzyme A. So these branch chain amino acid from arterial resources comes into the muscles, and from muscles it get degraded and provide energy. Okay, so and then this keto group and ammonia released into the venous pipeline. Okay, so this is the overall process, and how glutamate actually acts as a central pivotal role during amino acid metabolism. You can see here glutamate can donate its amino acid, which can donate its amino group to any other amino acid. Like if it donates its amino acid to aspartate, it will convert into asparagine. Okay, and it will give amino group to AMP. AMP converted into IMP, inosine monophosphate. AMP is adenosine monophosphate, or they can interconvert into other purine and pyrimidine. And this glutamine also goes into the plasma, or it can convert it into this glutamate can convert into glutamine through branch chain amino acid or other proteins, or glutamate can also transfer its amino group to pyruvate, which can convert into alanine, or glutamate upon transfer of amino group can convert it into glutamine. So this is the overall reaction. Most of the reaction are reversible in this pathway. Amino acid oxidation during exercise, basically I already explained that these alanine, aspartate, glutamate, and branch chain amino acid, they involved in amino acid metabolism. Okay, and muscles basically continuously utilize or releases alanine for gluconeogenesis, because it is a precursor for gluconeogenesis. And there are much more besides this, how the other things are actually happens inside the muscles and liver to provide energy. We will see in the subsequent slides. Oxidation of basically branch chain amino acid yields 32 to 43 ATP. This you should remember that. And like 1 molecule of glucose can give around approximately 30 ATP, but branch chain amino acid can give 32 to 43 ATP. So this is something good. And amino acid contributes up to 18% energy, And this branch chain amino acid dehydrogenase shown to increase activity up to 66% in rodent during skeletal muscle exercise. And we can also, if we want, we can also measure the amino acid flux from muscles. Flux means rate of change of original concentration of any substrate during reaction. And there are evidences that these amino acids get accumulated into the these amino acids get metabolized into the muscle, and the body tries that they should not accumulate in the blood or muscles. Basically, free amino acids should not be accumulated. Either they get metabolized or recirculated into the other part wherever there is a need of these amino acids. Okay. So there are something how researchers stress that this particular amino acid get metabolized via this pathway or that. They actually use the tracer technique. They use a carbon 13 labeled amino acid to trace out the metabolic pathway and to find out the metabolic rate. So what does all this mean? Basically, during exercise, amino acid utilize and provide energy. And what happens in the deamination? You can see when adenosine monophosphate is converted into, or inosine monophosphate is back converted into adenosine monophosphate, ammonia is released. Okay, so removal of ammonia is basically known as the deamination. What is the purpose of deamination? To just excel the ratio of ATP and ADP. This will also prevent the nucleotide loss and also produce ammonia, which will enhance the buffering activity of the body solution. And this will also helps in the carbohydrate metabolism, and like phosphofructokinase and inosine monophosphate activation occurs during carbohydrate metabolic pathway. So ammonia is a buffer. If we can see that a free ammonia, NH3, can accept a proton and convert it into ammonium ion. And however, it is not physiologically significant. So this can also be utilized in nucleotide cycle. I'm not going too much detail into the nucleotide cycle at this class because we will see this during our fourth unit lectures. So this will unnecessarily take up our extra time. So this is the overall summary of metabolism. Here you can see that I already showed this slide earlier, that few amino acids are glucogenic amino acid. They directly involves in the gluconeogenic pathway, and they metabolize and can reverse produce glucose, like alanine, cysteine, glycine, serine, tryptophan. They can give glutamate. Okay. 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 So this is all about the pathway where these amino acids degrade and produce the substrate for gluconeogenesis pathway, and some amino acids are purely ketogenic, which degrades and further produce succinyl CoA or ketogenic metabolic intermediates of the Krebs cycle. And some amino acids are considered as both ketogenic and glucogenic, such as phenylalanine and tyrosine. We will, of course, you don't worry, we will see each of them in detail in the next class. Okay. So this is the fact that glycogen firstly, glycogen provide the energy resources for exercise, and during prolonged exercise, protein will provide the extra energy which is needed to the body. And specifically, branch chain amino acids play important role during amino acid metabolism in skeletal muscles, and free fatty acids also provides energy, and almost 80% of work basically energy needed for 80% of work suffices by the free fatty acids. Okay, so these all are the facts, and how ketone bodies are also consistently produced during the amino acid metabolism, and ammonia and ketone bodies, they are the byproducts of amino acid metabolism, so they will affect our body basically, and we will also see this in our next class. So I am going to end this lecture here. I'm just going to